Hello beautiful souls, Avalon here, and I'm coming at you with my August favourites. So I'm going to try and do favourites videos from now on, but let's see how we go. I can't promise things because you know how it is. The moment you open up your mouth and make a committed promise, then it never comes to play, and so I feel, you know, sad and responsible. So I'm just going to try. I'm going to try it out, see how it fits. So I have got a really wide selection of favourites for the month of August because I have been busy. So I have got tech gear here, I've got art supplies, I've got decks, I've got crystals, I've got oils, I've got stuff basically. And you're about to see exactly what I have. Yay! Alright, let's start with tech first. So I have made a big purchase, what I consider to be a big purchase. I'm pretty thrifty and I like to control and budget and do all those kinds of things because I'm a Taurus after all. But every once in a while I put out there to the universe, I need this thing, and it comes about in a roundabout way. Now what I wanted essentially was a MacBook. I am a Microsoft computer laptop type girl, and what I wanted was to transition to Mac because I do a lot of creative work, especially now as I'm designing a tarot deck. I'm doing lots of, you know, graphics, and you know, I'm just playing around with things that I'm just usually not that accustomed to doing. And everyone's given me the hot tip that Mac was the way to go. But I went in, I asked the fella, you know, about Macs. This is at my local Harvey Norman. And he basically, once I told him exactly what I used it for, he gave me a quote of around $3,500, and I went, I'm sorry, no, because I do have a very good Microsoft computer here with a very fast processor that I can do a certain amount of stuff on. And so what I decided to do was go the roundabout way and get myself a beautiful iPad Pro. This is the 10-inch iPad Pro in rose gold. And I'm going to be using this now for a lot of graphics and a lot of video editing, and I also got the Apple Pencil to go with it. And I've got to say, I've been having a hell of a fun time with both of these items put together. It has increased my productivity. It's made video editing for me very easy. Now, in case anyone cares, I shoot my videos on a beautiful big camera. Can't tell you the specs of that camera right now, but it's what I'm using right now. And what I will do is then I will use a card reader to transfer the information directly to my iPad, where I will edit it there in iMovie using my iPencil, and it's just made my entire process very streamlined, very easy, and so it became a very fast favorite. And I thought I'd mention it as well, because if there's anyone out there that is struggling with a similar type of setup and that wants to move from one to another and, you know, do this sort of thing, then that's an option. That's an option. It's a very user-friendly option as well, and it kept the cost down because, you know, a MacBook Pro v an iPad Pro with the pencil, infinitely cheaper than what I was quoted to get a full laptop. So that is a fast favorite, and it's so pretty. It's so pretty. It's rose gold. It matches my phone, so I love it. I love it. And I got this weird smart case. Actually, as a Taurus, this upsets me because the smart case will cover the damage to the front of the screen, but it won't stop the scratching on the back. So that's of concern to me, but I'm learning to let that go. My husband keeps telling me, let it go, and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna let it go now. Alright, next I'm going to talk about my favourite oils for the month of August. Now, I may have talked about one of these in my July favourites, but I'm bringing it back into play if I did. Can't remember, but I'm bringing it back into play. Now, first of all, I wanted to talk about the beautiful Spirit Guide oil that came in the moon box. Here it is here, the beautiful Spirit Guide oil. I have found myself using this a lot, especially just before readings, to anoint my third eye and behind my ears and behind my neck, where I get my hit from. So we all get our hit intuitively from spirit in different parts of our body. So basically I anoint that. Then I'm really taken by this Fruition Moonbox oil. I know both the Moonbox. This Fruition Moonbox oil is filled with, I want to bring that really close so that you can see, look at all of that blue cornflower. Sorry about the blurring, but it's so full of blue cornflower and it's so fragrant. And I just love it. I love working with blue cornflower, and I find it to be visually gorgeous in a mixture, a botanical mixture of any description, oils included, and I'm so taken. Every time I look at this vial of oil, I am inspired to use it, and it sits on my reading table. Most of my favorite oils are on my reading table at this moment so that they're easy reach, because things get lost on my shelves. So the last oil that I want to talk about is this beautiful, I've talked about this so much before, but it's this beautiful Lilith oil that came from the beautiful Dominia Lua Apothecary, and that is in the UK. I did a bit of an unboxing of some of the goodies that that beautiful creatrix sent me, and this was one of them. Now, I can't get over the smell of this oil, and oh my goodness, is it a game changer. I'm gonna put some on me now. Just gonna, it's just everything. It is, I'm obsessed. It is everything. It's everything. It smells like what I want my soul to smell like. It's got all my favorite scents in there. It's got a musky vanilla to it. I don't know, but I love it so much, and I've been using it so much. I've been alternating between my favorite perfume, my favorite spray perfume, and this. So this has been a really big one for me. I really love it, and highly recommend it if you're in the market for something with a really, you know, heaty, sensual, feminine scent, something that's a real like mover and shaker and just makes you feel like then that's the one for you. Alright, next I'm going to be talking about herbs, or botanicals more importantly. I find that the word herb seems to be a more umbrella term to discuss anything that is plant-based, and so, you know, it's not necessarily the most accurately descriptive word, but sometimes when I myself say herbs, I mean it all. I mean all plant-based materials. So I'll talk about botanicals right now, and I've got these beautiful earthly creations. The first is not going to be a surprise because I've already just talked about it, and that is blue cornflower. And this came in the moon box, but I actually have blue cornflower in my shelf there, and I use it a lot. It's one of those botanicals that I find myself reaching for over and over again because it is visually beautiful. I mean, look at the rich indigo of this herb. It is amazingly beautiful, and it's so light, and it seems to dance in oil, and any mixture with this added to it just explodes with color. I find it to be a very fey type of botanical, and I find that when I add a pinch of it, I'm bringing a pinch of the wild nature with it. For me, the fae are the guardians of the natural world, and so that is something that I keep in mind when I add this to any mixture, and you just need a little pinch of it, and it just really enhances a mixture of any kind, whether that be an incense, an oil, a spell. This herb, if you anoint your candle with your favorite oil or an anointing oil that you've created for a particular purpose, and roll your candle in this, it's stunning. And when the wax melts, if you have a waxy candle as opposed to a dripless candle, then you can scoop all of that out, roll it into a little ball, and, you know, dispose of that thoughtfully, whether that be at a crossroad or in a natural place. You know, keeping in mind, be very careful what you place out in nature and what you place out at a crossroads. This is why I always recommend people use candles that are made from non-toxic materials, because they do blend back into nature in some way, shape or form, and so a sense of responsibility is definitely recommended there. That's just a little public service announcement from your naggy little witch here. Okay, so the next botanical that I'm talking about is Eyebright, and this one I purchased recently from Elfenheim, and I'm very impressed with the quality of their materials, and I I'm a little bit obsessed with Eyebright for the third eye, for really opening up the senses, the visual senses, whether that be your spiritual eye or your visual eyes. Now, being that I'm a person that clearly wears glasses, eyes are something that I like to focus on. And I don't know why this just popped into my head, but my granddad, who's passed away a long time ago, a beautiful man, my Australian grandfather, used to say that if you eat ants, if an ant fell in your food in some way, because this happens here in Queensland, ants are everywhere. They will eventually end up in your food, in your tea. It just happens, right? Apparently it's good for your eyes. He always used to say that to me, and I found great peace in that because I have such funny eyes. Anyways, that's just a little side story. I digress. So Eyebright. I was a couple months back given a homemade magical esoteric oil by one of my coven sisters, and I found it to be amazing. One of the key ingredients in that, among so many, was Eyebright, and she did talk about it enough to make me want to acquire some Eyebright. I've not really worked much with Eyebright, but what I have found is it is fantastic for opening and expanding the sight. Creatively speaking, if you want to see beyond limitations, this is a really great herb to burn, to place in a loose incense, candle magic, you know, use it magically. Speaking, I don't feel like I need to describe the magical ways in which you can use this, but it expands beyond limitations, it opens up the sight, it allows you to see clearer and further, and that's a really great one when you are working towards goals. Now, the reason why I personally acquired this is because, of course, I'm working on a very large creation, a creation that seems to be multiplying in size because the universe is calling for that to be. I was just very recently told not to cap my magic, and I'm keeping that in mind, and I'm allowing myself to open up a little bit more and to see what comes of it. And in order for me to do that with any kind of ease, being that I'm so sedentary and controlled and like structure, Taurus, keep it all together, I have to see it, it needs to be in some kind of order. I have found this to be very soothing for me personally. So Eyebright, if you, like me, want to just let go a little bit and see further and enjoy the process a little bit more, lighten the spirit, this is a good one. This is a really good one. Next, what I want to talk about is incense and unguents. I'm going to go the flying ointment first. This very innocent little container was created by one of my coven sisters, and I asked her for one of her amazing flying ointments because I was going away on my drum making workshop, and I knew that there would be journeying involved, and so I asked her to make me a flying ointment so that I could go a bit deeper and get the most out of that experience, because I do like to work with unguents. It's not something that I often talk about, but it is something that is a part of my practice, and so I asked her to whip me up one. I anointed myself, and the journey was amazing. And I've got to say that I will be doing a separate video to discuss the entire process of my drum, not the visual aspects, but my experience, my soulful spiritual experience. And I've just got to say that this was an incredible ally, an incredible aid to me. And if you're inspired to use flying ointments, unguents of those descriptions, please do so responsibly. That's all I can say. Next is an incense. Now this incense I made myself, and I rocked it hard. Speaking of rocking it hard, it's actually a little bit, oh yes, oh I love you, I love you. Look at that. Yes, it's in a recycled Lush container. I love Lush products. It still smells like the gods. It smells amazing. I do make the best types of incense, loose mixes, and I use this. This was my Leo incense. I made a video about my Leo incense, and I've got to say, this has hands down been my favorite thing to use, magically speaking. I have burnt it almost on the daily. I'm really connected with this one, and I've got to say, I'm so happy that I went to the trouble of, you know, creating it the way that I did, with such magical oomph and drumming and singing, and just, oh my gosh, when I was moved to create this, when I was inspired to create this, I've got to say following that inspiration was one of the best things that I did on the lead up to August, and I've got to say it's made the world of difference. I took this away on my drum making course as well, and I threw it into the fire. I've taken it on various little excursions where I've just thrown it here and thrown it there, and people are like, oh my god, what is that? What is that? And I'm like, it's my incense. No, I won't tell you what's in it, and no, I won't make you one. It's my incense. I know that seems a little bit like nah, 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 nah. But it wasn't my intention. It takes a lot of energy for me to make an incense like this. It took a lot of preparation. You only saw a small portion of it in the video that I did make, but I was there drumming for ages and ages. I was, you know, charging up each of the ingredients for a long time as I was putting them into the mortar and pestle. There's a lot that you don't see. I speed it all up and I just make it look a little bit more enjoyable and palatable to watch. But there's a lot that goes in here. And it's not something that I would make for just anyone. I would give it to someone for a birthday present because I think it's that special. So that was my Leo incense that I'm just loving, 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 loving. Love it! And it's made me very excited. It's got a lot of energy. Even the little mixture, just to sniff it, it raises your energy levels exponentially. Let me just say that. Okay, next I wanted to talk about art supplies. Right, so I've acquired a few new art supplies because I'm actually engaged in an art project, a joint art project with my lovely friend and her team of people, Erin from Wildlight. And we're doing an altered book. For a couple of months I'm going to be working on an altered book. So this is in my spare time. You know what I mean? So this is what I've got going on. This is what I've been using. This is what I've really loved. Let's get started. First of all, delusions paints. Here we go. Delusions paints are a journaling type of paint. They dry matte. They're quick dry actually, and they're just really blendable and versatile. And I got these two colors. One is turquoise, vibrant turquoise, and the other one is a pomegranate seed. There we go. And that's the colors there. It's not really obviously coming up tremendously, but I have really, really enjoyed working with these. These are my first delusions paints. I do have delusion sprays, but these are my first paints, so I'm pretty excited about that. Next is the Saran Coat, and this is in, I want to say it's flesh toned. So I don't really work with acrylic all that much, so I was very hesitant to go in this direction, but I am taking a few art courses at the same time, slowly I might add, and there is a certain something to be had to having some acrylic in your collection. So I've been using this one, and I have mixed it with gesso, I've used it on its own. It's lovely. It's actually really lovely to work with. I don't think I'll ever be a fully acrylic type of painter, artist, whatever, but I do prefer watercolor, just saying, and but I really like this, and it was recommended by Jane Davenport in one of her courses. So Saran Coat. Another one, these are not all of them, but I did go ahead and acquire some Mutombo markers. They're kind of a little bit water soluble, and they're the first time. This is the first time that I've used them, and I saw them in Lifebook because I'm taking Lifebook 2017 with Tamara Laporte. I don't have a tremendous amount of time to dedicate to it, so I'm just sort of like picking and choosing the lessons that resonate with me and then doing those ones. And in one of them, she did something pretty amazing with Tombos, so of course I raced out and tried to acquire some really nice Tombos, and I used them especially on Tomo River paper and in my Jane Davenport Butterfly book, and I just really loved their effect, and so I got a bunch of them, and I won't be getting any more. I've got to say that I'm putting a halt to all of my artistic buying at the moment because I have got a lot to achieve as far as my deck goes. So basically I've now got to use what I've got. Can't go out and get anything more. So Tombos were my last great new purchase, and along with that last great new purchase is my Jane Davenport paint over pens. I decided to acquire these because they are very vibrant, and I heard some good stuff about them, to add little pops of colour here and there at the very end. The turquoise is amazing. It is so vibrant. It is so vibrant. I loved it. And then of course I got myself a Liquitex paint marker in titanium white, because I usually use either a Posca for the white highlights or the Sino, and I find the Sino, it's really you can't depend on it. It lets you down. It clogs, it won't work, it just lets you down. And I've gone through so many of them. I've gone through the Pentel white ink gel pen as well, and it doesn't work, so I decided to go the Liquitex paint marker here, and I've been getting a lot more success out of the Liquitex paint marker, let me just say. And yes, this is my Jane Davenport pencil case. Isn't it lovely? Yes. So that's my art supply section. Right, now I mentioned that I was doing an art project, so I thought that I would show you. This is the book that I chose to alter, and this is what I have essentially done to it. That's the Saran Coat that I've used. There's a little Liquitex ink there. There's the Delusions and pomegranate. That's it there. This is the Delusions plus gesso in the turquoise. This is more of what I'm doing. This is just me prepping pages. That's more of the Delusions in the pomegranate there, which I really love. That's a purple of some description. That's blue gesso, dark blue gesso there. But that's a little bit of page prepping. So I'm at the page prepping section, and I've almost got the outline of the face in there, so I'll be able to start working on that pretty soon. But yes, I'm doing an altered book journal type thing. I've also been working really hard with my Midori Traveller. This is my standard Midori Traveller in brown, and I have Tomo River inserts in here, and I was using them as a journal for One Book July, and it's been really lovely to do. I have been doing quite a bit of art in it, and I'll show you a little bit more of what I've sort of been achieving here, there and everywhere. Just a little doodling here, there, like some of the just a little watercolor play and a little non-judgmental art. And I've got to say that I've really enjoyed using this journal, and I've also enjoyed doing something that I don't usually do in my journals before, and that is this kind of thing where I just play around with mediums and, you know, try different angles. That is me and my very first turned head. I put that up on Instagram. The paper has settled down. It was really ruckled because I added a lot of medium, and that's my first go with Tombos. It's also my first go with the really beautiful turquoise. I'll bring that up close. That's the turquoise Jane Davenport paint pen there, and a few other bits and bobs there. So yes, I've just been practicing some features and things like that. So I've really just been enjoying breaking things down, because I don't have a tremendous amount of time to do a full piece of art, for instance, or to work continuously on a piece of art. So I've just sort of been refining my skill a little bit, and I've been going to my beautiful Midori for that, because it is something that I have with me at all times, and it is a way for me to fill my time when I need to and I'm out and about, without me just spending hours on the phone, you know what I mean? So I'm always trying to cut down on my screen time as much as I can, by streamlining my processes and by creating ways in which I can go about just using my time a little bit more creatively. So I've been using that one. And now for crystals. So the first stone that I have been really rocking throughout the month of August is a carnelian. It's a stone that I work with at the time of Imbolc. It is one of those fiery stones for me. It's very creative. This is my big piece. I've got tons of little pieces here on my reading space, and I love it. It is such a delicious stone to really bring the creative force from the inside of you to the outside world, and you know, it facilitates that quite a bit. It adds a little fire to the day, and so if you're stuck creatively, meditate with this stone and see how you go. Be careful though, it's got a bit of oomph, okay? So if you're the type of person that is more water oriented, water's your power element, then you might find mixing such a fiery stone with that water creates a little bit of frustration, and so maybe steer clear. I still find it very gentle to use when, say, compared to Mexican fire opal, for instance, or fire agate or something like that. This is probably a nicer, you know, fiery stone to go with. So try it out, see how you go with it. The other stone that I'm working with is Iolite. And I'm working with this stone for intuition. And I really enjoy the energy of Iolite, and I found that throughout my altar changes that I have consistently kept at least one piece on my altar, and I find that it merges very well with my energy, and I'm still experimenting on how I can use it more and try to figure out my own attributes for it and how I can best apply the magic, the energy of that stone to my personal practice. So I'll keep you updated on that one, but I've really enjoyed it, and it's something that I've just noticed, you know, that I have had it here for the last 6, 7, 8 months since the start of the year potentially. So yeah, it's been a big one for me, and I've only really started to notice that no, I actually can't create a sacred space without having at least one piece of it there. But why? Why can't I? What does it bring? What does it bring to me? And intuition is one of those things, but of course I have other stones in my space that work on intuition. So there's something else to Iolite that I need to start to integrate more with. So I'll keep you updated, like I said. Now we have some decks. Which to go for first? Tarot or Oracle? Tarot or Oracle? That is always the question. Tarot or Oracle? Let's go Tarot first. The first deck that I'm going to show you is no surprise, of course. It is the Sun and Moon and Rain Tarot. So I took Sun and Moon away with me on my shamanic drum making workshop. I journeyed out under the stars disappeared behind rain clouds, I was rained upon, my deck was there. While it was in a bag, it was still a little water damaged, and so the world card specifically was rained on, which is interesting to me. And now I can tell. So the Sun and Moon is turning out to be quite my little soul deck, a wise counsel, a wonderful sage in its own right, a very understated deck, and I find myself quite addicted to its energy, and I have been using it flat out, without fail, for ages and ages. I use it on the daily for myself. It's a very soulful deck for me personally. I never expected this kind of relationship with this deck, let me just say, but it's happened, and you know what? You can't choose who you fall in love with. Isn't that what they say? So throughout the month of August, I have been rediscovering the magic of the Hidden Realm. This is a deck that does not need any introduction. This is a Barbara Moore deck. The artwork is done by Julia Jeffries, the Stone Maiden, and I've got to say that it is a beautiful deck, although the cardstock is very thin for me, and so I love to use it, but the cardstock is a little bit off-putting, and I really wish that they would just beef up their cardstock. This is the Llewellyn deck, and I really wish Llewellyn would beef up their cardstock a little bit more. And that's basically it. I find this to be a really beautiful deck for connecting with the spirit of Fae, and I find this to be a really spiritual deck. It's a deck that is a little bit more free-spirited in its nature, and you kind of have to work with it. You have to work with it up to a point. It will give you somewhat of a mysterious, ambiguous answer, and you have to work at deciphering that. So it's a deck that makes you work for it. It's also a deck that will somehow give you this amazing, amazing piece of wisdom just when you need it. And it's surprising, and it's from a different perspective. And I've got to say, it's a little bit of a dark horse. It's a little bit of a dark horse of a deck. I thought that I would honorably mention the deck that I have also been working with throughout the month of August, and that is the Japri Tarot by Nino Japri, and it was published by US Game Systems. I should have said also that the Sun and Moon is a US Game Systems deck. Now, this deck is a hidden gem. This deck is fun, sarcastic, at times a little bit morose, always surprising, and quite entertaining. The colour palette of this deck is vibrant, it's rich, it's beautiful, it's colourful, it's enticing, it excites the eyes. And the messages come through in a really quirky, pretty much straightforward way. There's nothing too obscure about it. I quite like it. It's actually not too bad cardstock. Not too bad, not the best, but not too bad cardstock. The cards are longer than a standard size deck. The backing is beautiful, and I actually really like the deck. It comes with a really nice guidebook in the box, and the whole set put together is a decent size, so you do get a little bit for your money there. And I like it. I really like the deck, and I don't often hear people talking about it, so I just wanted to show it some love because it is a really good little reader. I'm also rocking Druidcraft, which you've heard me speak about a million times, so I'm not going to bring that into the picture, and of course Soul Cards is here with me. Okay, so Oracle cards. What am I working with this month? So I have quite fallen in love with this beautiful deck. It is the Messenger Oracle by Sandra Kunz. Not quite sure. C-U-N-Z? I can't pronounce it. My Australian tongue doesn't want to pronounce it with any kind of eloquence, so apologise for butchering the name. This deck is stunning. This is an Oracle deck with a hell of a lot of dimension. This is a passionate, inspiring, igniting, forthright, brooding. It's a breath of fresh, albeit twilight air. And I'm gonna say I love it. I'm planning on doing a video in dedication to this deck because while I have done an unboxing of it, I haven't really given it too much love since then, and I have fallen in love, legitimately fallen in love with this deck and what it has done for me personally and for the clients that I have used it on throughout the month of August. So, special. I bought out of the box an old favourite of a deck. That is the Gaia Oracle. So the Gaia Oracle, at one point in my oracular collecting phase, was hands down my favourite deck. And so it has a very special place in my heart. It is no longer my absolute favourite, but it's still up there as one of my favourites because I have a sentimental attachment to it. The Gaia Oracle is of course a deck that's been created by the wonderful archetype of Gaia, our great Earth Mother, and I resonate with that quite deeply, which is what drew me to this deck to begin with, and working with her just brings some of that motherly love into the equation. And so I have been having a great old reconnection with that particular Oracle deck. Sacred Rebels is another one that I'm working with at the time. I love the Maiden Mother Crone on the backing of this. Sacred Rebels, the artwork for the Sacred Rebels is by Autumn Sky Morrison, I do believe, and it's an Alana Fairchild deck. This artwork is very activating to me. I find that this is one of those all-rounder type of Oracle decks that you can use alongside any deck, essentially, that will give you a very even finish to your reading, or will give you a very insightful full reading if used on its own. So this is a deck that I would highly recommend. It doesn't sway too much in any direction. It is just there, it's even keeled, it has a lot to offer. The artwork is beautifully evocative, and it's just a wonderful, look at that card, it's just like so Aphrodite. It's wonderfully evocative, and it's moving. It's a really, really moving deck. If you're the type of person that likes to work with the sacred feminine, then you'll get even more out of this deck, because this deck really does focus on what I would consider to be the Holy Trinity, Maiden Mother Crone, and the Wild Rebel inside each and every one of our beautiful feminine vessels. But this is not to say that a beautifully connected man cannot read with this. It's got a little something for everyone. I just think that it would be much more geared towards a woman or a person with a lot of femininity in their arena. Whatever that means. Okay, so the last deck that I'm going to show you is actually 3. Can I count? 3? It's 3 in 1. It is my super shadow deck. This is the Shadows and Light, Shapeshifter, and Le Vampire. So all rolled into one. These are all 3 Lucy Cavendish and Jasmine Beckett Griffith decks, and I have a reading in my shop that requires me to blend all 3 together, and somebody through the middle or the very start of August had me do this, and so I put it together and I'm like, yay, I haven't done this for ages. I completely forgot about deck combining for a while there, and it's kind of put it back into my sphere of consciousness. So I was pretty happy, and I haven't unblended it, so I've just been using it like this in its awesome way. It sits like this beast on my table, just saying, use me, and I'm like, okay. It's literally the call of the dark side, because it is quite shadowy. This combination is quite shadowy, and it's so tasty. It brings out so much tastiness, and I've got to say, I've just had so much fun with it. Okay, the last thing that I'm going to show you is, of course, my drum. So I went away to my drum making workshop, shamanic drum making workshop, and I made this beast of a drum, and that's the striker. I chose the skin. I journeyed to meet the spirit of the skin. I stretched it. I put my love and intention into it. This is tulip oak. The striker is tulip oak, and the striker itself matches the complexity of the color tone in the skin of my drum. And I've got to say, when I strike it, it doesn't just sing, it also hums as though it were a and so I've got to say that the whole experience of this drum is amazing, and the drum itself is so beautifully crafted. The hoop, I should say, is so beautifully crafted. It's not something that I did. Bob Seymour did this, and he is amazing, amazing, amazing with wood. And when I strike it, it sings, and it also hums. It's almost like a whistle when I start to really bang it. It's like a whistle, and it hums in the same way as, say, a Tibetan meditation bowl. So a really beautiful, high pitch kind of a drum. And yeah, I've got to say that I'm enamored by this, and the fact that I put a lot of this together myself. I stretched it, I worked with the skin, I cut it, I tied it all, I did this whole backing bit, pegged it, you know, stuffed the head of it, chose the skin, chose the striker, chose the whole thing. It's just so personal and so beautiful, and such a wonderful magical tool, I've got to say. I will never paint this drum. I've had somebody ask me, oh, are you going to paint the face of it? Absolutely not. Look at how beautiful that is. Without any paint on it, just look at how striking that is. It has scars and scratches and stories that I'm not going to cover up with paint. So, my drum. Absolutely beautiful. And there you have it, my August favorites video. I sincerely hope that you have liked everything that I've put in here. I tried to make this all really exciting because I don't just work with magical implements. I don't just work with artistic implements. I work with it all. I'm a YouTuber, so I use tech. I'm a creative person, so I use a little bit of art. I'm a witch, so I use a little bit of witchcraft. I'm multifaceted, so I want these beautiful favorites videos to just demonstrate that a little bit of that variety, you know, and not just be very one-dimensional. Here's all my magical favorites, for instance. I find everything that I've shown you in this video to be a magical favorite because it enables me to create for you in a way that is totally in alignment with my authentic soul, if I can be that dramatic about it. And also it's stuff that I can put to good use in my magical practice and for my coven and for my family, and so it's all so yummy. It's all so yummy. Much love, many blessings. Bye.